All right. Good night, everyone. Welcome to Comics Asylum Live. I am here with the regular crew. I've got starting from, I guess, my left, but right on the screen, we have Sean, Decepticon 77, going clockwise. We have J Man 77 as well, too. My partner in crime with Comics Asylum, Vaughn Joseph. And in the middle, the person of the hour, the inimitable, legendary Bruce Zick. How are you? Welcome to Comics Asylum.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime. How's everything?
Great, great, great. Um, just enjoying being around during springtime and digging the vibe of renewal around here.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. For those who are watching and joining in for the first time, Bruce and I and Vaughn have been in contact for years. When Bruce was putting out his Zone Continuum book, and we featured it in our magazine. This is how long ago we've known each other, because I don't think we've published a magazine in almost 10 years, Vaughn. If
It
I'm
was 2014, 2015. Yeah.
oh, yeah, I think
It was even longer. Yeah.
I had hair, and it was it was a thing.
Don't kid you.
Tail and
I am my fro was
Don't
in
kid.
full effect.
Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, I know. I've been great since high school, but Bruce and I have kept in contact, and we actually had the pleasure of having him on the podcast I guess it was a few months ago for Captain Henry and the Graveyard of Time, and so we might as well just dive into that. Congratulations on the series. It's now going to a trade, which I guess is going to be coming out in a few short weeks. What was it like working on Captain Henry, and describe what it's like working with someone like Mike Mignola?
Well, I'm sort of in awe of Mike because he seems to be a bottomless well. I mean, art wise, he's still killing it. His newest stuff is just as exciting as his stuff was like 30 years ago. And seeing how he just comes up with ideas story wise, and how much Dark Horse is sort of like double or triple down on how many Hellboy books they do these days. There's like every month there's a new Hellboy series, and then any given month there's maybe 3 or 4 books overlapping in their timelines, and he just he's amazing. He's amazing, and I kind of learned a lot from him story wise because I tend to be very logical in how I write, and I want things to make sense, maybe to a point of being damaging to the fun of the story. And Mike kind of believes the opposite. He sort of believes in allowing for magical things to happen that don't need explanation, and are just fun things to occur. And so that was great for me to see that was a possibility in how I write stories. And art wise, it was just so intimidating because I've been admiring his work ever since the beginning of Hellboy. And many times I've tried to ape his look and style, and it really screwed me up because trying to do somebody else's style that's not natural to your own style can really come and bite you back. And that's what was happening. Was I was losing my own natural way of drawing, so I had to stop it and just let it go and let Mike be Mike and let me be me, and not try to worry about maybe pleasing his audience too much by giving them like a Mike Mignola clone book.
Right. Right. And here we have the cover for issue 1. Anyone else? Anyone in the panel have any questions for Bruce with regards to Captain Henry or working with Mike Mignola?
How did you get in touch with Mike? Had you done stuff with him in the past? How
No,
did that relationship form?
actually, we're both on Facebook, and years ago, I was posting some art from one of my other books, and Mike just made a very short comment about how much he liked this one piece, and then I went, "Oh, wow, Mike Mignola comment post. So I sent him a direct message saying, "Thanks, Mike. You're one of the few people in the business I would really like to work with." And then he said, "Well, yeah, let's do that." And and then a couple years went by of not doing it, and I just never gave up, but pestering him. I'd send him a Facebook message maybe twice a year, going, "Hi, Mike. Hope we can work together someday." And then a couple years ago, it was like time for my biannual pestering post, and that time he responded, "Go, yeah, let's go, let's do something." And then it was like straightforward from that point on. We went right into it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's the
Um,
collaboration like these days on new comics? Like Sean and I are, we're looking at old Marvel, and we know the Marvel method style. What is it like now?
Well, we collaborated in the beginning in terms of kicking ideas around about what the story was, and I actually did a rough draft based on what we had originally talked about to outline a 4-book series. But Mike really had a beat on exactly what he wanted to do, and I realized that I was better off just letting him plot out the whole 4-book series. A little bit of what I suggested got into the plot outline, and then from that point on, he basically turned it over to me, which I was surprised. He let me write the script, and I thought, okay, well, I've written the script, and I sent Mike an email going, did you want to go over the script? And he goes, no, just send me the artwork pages as you produce them, and I'll look at that. So and then I thought, oh man, this is going to be murder, because I was so tight as a drum drawing, second guessing everything I was doing, and I just thought, oh, okay, I'm going to send him all these pages, and what the heck is going to happen? And all he said was, looks great. and and that was, I think there was only one time when he made a suggestion to change one thing that was very tied into his Hellboy continuity storyline,
okay.
and otherwise he just left me alone, and I was really amazed.
I love the
Well,
the goth look of everything. It looks a lot like a the world of Hellboy. But what were the influences? Like some of the visual influences here. I see, of course, Jules Verne, but also some Winsor McCay in there, perhaps.
Oh, I don't think so, Windsor
No.
McCay wise, but definitely Jules Verne and H.G. Wells, as far as kind of a true adventure, kind of a story where the hero is thrust into a world that he can't understand or explain, and he has to survive, and it's full of scientific and fantastic marvels of all different sorts, and it's his adventure trying to get back to his real world again, and that is sort of classic Jules Verne, especially Jules Verne, and I think maybe H.G. Wells a lot, just because of the science fictiony kind of bent of the direction of the story. And then I always like steampunk kind of technology. I don't like things to be too clean and precise, or even modern, or even futuristic. I kind of like the retro feeling of things stuck in time, and maybe rotting out or rusting, and decaying, and but still functioning. So with a lot of nuts and bolts and rivets and things like that.
interesting, interesting. Outside of this, how long have you been in the industry? Like, how did you get your start, Bruce?
Well, I got my start with Dark Horse Comics. Oddly enough, I drew up some sample pages, and I went to a San Diego Comic Con, and met Mike Richardson and Randy Stradley when they were both in charge of things. And I just went up and went, "Hey, here's my artwork, and do you want to do something?" And it really wasn't that good, actually, but it was good enough to get them interested in doing something with me. And it was kind of a funny story, but after we exchanged contact information, Randy called me up months later, and he offered me to do the adaptation of the Alien movie.
Oh, really?
And I went, "Oh my God, there's no way." I just didn't think I was good enough to do that, and I was well aware of my weaknesses as an artist, and I just thought I'd never be comfortable or relaxed taking on such a big project like that. And so I turned it down, which probably was the right idea. But then I did get to do my first little 4-part series in Dark Horse Presents for them called the Argosy. And so that was my very first intro into doing comics.
And there's the cover, right? Is this it?
Yeah, that's one of the covers, right? and it's a little bit hard looking back at my very first work, although there are a handful of pages I'm so extremely proud of, even to this day. But the other, like 95% of it, I kind of shudder a little bit when I look at it. But I guess we all have to be forgiving about our early young selves.
Wow, 1990, eh? Publication date?
That sounds about right.
And so it's interesting because you're mentioning, sorry to cut you off there, Vaughn, but like you're mentioning how when you were starting Graveyard of Time and working with Mike Mignola, how it's like, how do you prep yourself to start the project?
Oh.
And then you're like thinking about the first project that you did for Dark Horse Presents. And it's like, how do you prep yourself to start the project? So starting from the beginning to where you are now, how does that process change when you get an assignment and it's like wrapping your head around getting into it? And what advice would you have for artists who are getting into this?
My basic training was in the field of animation as a background designer or a concept artist, or a lot of different names for that. But I was more building the environments of an animated picture and not so much dealing with the characters. So I loved the whole approach to world building as a preliminary to starting a project. Of course, you got to design the characters and all that, but for me, it's really important to have the story immerse you in a world that is artificially built from top to bottom. So that's I think where I start is what do I want this world to look like? What do I want my characters doing in that world? But just what does this place look like, and why is it unique and maybe exciting? So that's kind of the very first step I take is what's, and then I kind of do my own style, so I don't think so much about, well, what style am I going to do, but I do think a lot about what the world is going to look like, and how exciting is it going to be thrust into this world.
And what was the first animation project that you worked on?
Mighty Man and Yuck. Plastic Man, Rickety Rocket. Oh gosh, The Puppy's Great Adventure. these were all Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And for a studio called Ruby Spears, which
oh yeah.
Interestingly enough, Jack Kirby ended up doing a ton of work for later. But what was great about the Ruby Spears time was the second year that I worked for them, they did Thundar the Barbarian.
Oh,
Thunder.
awesome.
So
I think we all have that on Blu-ray on this panel.
yeah, and that was a real treat. That's when I actually first met Jack Kirby, because he would come in with a armload of artwork for his weekly assignment, and I sort of stuttered my way over to meet him, and and showed him my artwork. And of course, he's only going to say nice things, but it was a little awkward, but it was great to meet him for the first time.
And what was it like working with Jack, and meeting Jack?
Well, it was sort of not really working with him. He would turn over his ideas, and they would go to the different departments in production. His character concepts would go to the character design department, and they would make it fit for animation style. And then his backgrounds would come to my department, and my boss would give me assignments of either reworking a Jack concept, or he would rework some of it. And as great conceptually as Jack's work was, we had to make it more theatrically appropriate for an animation background. So, but I never worked with him personally, and I maybe met him or said hello to him only a couple more times in that year of doing Thundar.
Cool.
What's the speed of art? Because Jack Kirby, the first thing comes to mind is like, oh, the guy would do like 5-6 pages a day or whatever. He was just crazy, right? Like wouldn't go to bed. What is it? What is that? I mean, that's completely unrealistic today, right?
Yeah. You have to be a colossus of talent, right, to do. I always like the story of looking at one panel of a Jack Kirby page, maybe, and it would have the character sitting in a restaurant eating, and the restaurant was full of people at other tables, and each character was pretty well figured out in terms of what they looked like, what they were wearing, what was their pose and attitude as they were eating, and then there would be a waiter sort of bent over serving some food to one of the tables, and this was only like maybe a panel that was 1/3 of a whole page. And I just thought, I couldn't, wouldn't even know how to do that, to start doing that one panel in a day, because I just don't have that mental library of knowledge of dressing people in clothing, and what would they look like eating, and what would a restaurant look like. But he had so many decades of experience drawing everything under the world, that it all kind of instantly was at his command to reproduce things on a moment's notice. And I would have to research and find books, or cut out pictures and use them as reference and try to copy things. I just couldn't draw like that. And to this day, I still couldn't do the things that he just did. Maybe that panel only took him 30 minutes. I mean, it's just, it's mind-boggling.
Steve was scrolling by some of like, these are incredible. Like what's the time frame on? I mean, like there's one, a couple of, I don't know, Steve, where it is now. I was listening to Bruce talk and kind of looking at the same time.
I can go back to it.
But there was like a yellowish one, like that looked awesome. Like
you know what? Let's have Bruce explain this one, and then I'll go.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because yeah.
Well, this was for DreamWorks Road to El Dorado, and I don't know how detailed to go into it, but anyway, I was reinventing a Mayan Aztec kind of fantasy civilization, and when you work in animation, a lot of times they don't ever use your work. They just kind of go, oh, nice drawing, we love it, but then it just goes into a filing cabinet for eternity. and this was one of those many drawings I did for that one project. I think almost none of them ever were used, but they in the early days of animation, it was sort of all based on the Walt Disney style of
Right.
production, where before a movie ever went into production, they would maybe spend 6 to 12 months just exploring ideas, and they would hire a bunch of different artists, and they would let each artist just do their own thing, and then they would eventually decide which artists they like, which things they like, and then they would start to narrow it down to actually do production work. So when I first came in animation, it was still that kind of format of let the artist go wild, and then we'll decide later if we want to use any of it. And nowadays they don't do that at all. I mean, you have a script, and you get hired to do the backgrounds, then they go, okay, we need this one shot in a forest, then give us this other shot in a cavern, and then there's no exploration, there's no experimentation. It's just get in there and quickly turn around a very specific thing and then move on to the next thing. So I really miss those days.
I mean, that mine one could be used as a movie. Like I was picturing like Dune or something, like some random Dune planet, that has like a Mayan, because all the Dune stuff is from something else. Every planet is from something, and that could have like fit right in.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see things get actually used, but the vast majority of my work, kind of like at the end of the first Indiana Jones, it gets crated away to Warehouse 51, and it's like packed away in a stack of crates somewhere, never to be seen again by human eyes. So that's generally the fate of all my work, because we don't get to keep our original artwork. It's owned by the studios.
Yeah.
Is this the one you were talking about, Jamie?
Oh yeah, I was just saying, like, that looks like, I mean, this is again awesome, and it's like I don't even know, like, what is the actual, like, because I'm not an artist at all. I'm like I'm more of a writer. I can't even think of sitting down and putting the paper down or whatever, or canvas, and be like, okay, what am I even beginning to do? Like what is the like initial thought to even start this, let's say, this piece?
Well, these group of images that we're looking at right now are my own personal work. I've done a series of landscapes based on what we see around in the Pacific Northwest. So there's a lot of mist and fog and mossy draped branches and ferns and trees covered with moss, and so I just have been influenced over the years by what I see around here, and specifically to start, it's just like probably any artist, you just kind of scribble out a bunch of rough ideas in a thumbnail. Like, you don't worry about how good it is or anything. You just are looking for some compositions and some arrangements of shapes, and then one of them may particularly strike you, and then you go, okay, well, that's what I'll start with, and then you just start fleshing it out slowly, to build layer upon layer of it. So that's it in a nutshell, sort of how it starts. Oh, and this one was for Titan AE.
Oh,
Titan AE. Now, that was a great experience for me because they used so much of my artwork in the movie. It was amazing. There's only maybe a handful of movies I've worked on where I really had that kind of pleasurable experience of going, wow, there's my work on the screen. So I just love doing Titan AE.
That's a kick-ass movie too.
Yeah, people love it. I actually I haven't seen it in a long time. I'd like to see how well it holds up.
I think it's still pretty good. I don't remember. I haven't watched it in a while, but I remember like still thinking it looked pretty good. This looks like a Jack Kirby. Well, you know how you used to do those crazy machinery where it's like all this like knobs,
the Kirby tech,
the Kirby technology. Yeah.
Well, you'd be a fool not to be influenced by Jack Kirby. I mean, I remember because I just loved looking at his fantastic inventions as a kid. I mean, the characters were of course great, but the world that Jack Kirby's stories took place in,
Yeah,
like
or just
like
as big. Yeah.
it just I was immersed in his imagination, and I remember like never quite understanding how he could build such elaborate machinery. And then I read an interview back then, and he said something like he would start with like a letter in the alphabet and make it a three-dimensional shape, and then put on another letter of the alphabet and kind of build letters upon letters in different on different positions of different sizes, and then you'd end up with this crazy construct. But uh, the other thing too is I think he had a lot of mechanical knowledge. Like he knew what a car engine looked like, or what a compressor unit in a refrigerator looked like. uh, there was a lot of functional believability to a lot of his machinery
Mhm.
that seemed like there were conduit lines, like you know, cables running through things, and
Yeah,
there'd be
pistons and stuff like that.
yeah, there would be a transmitter here and a thingamabob there, and I don't know, it
Hmm.
just felt like something you could almost see in a Mechanics Illustrated magazine or something.
Yeah, had a very technical illustration kind of feel to a lot of his construction of his like environmental tech. Like I
Yeah.
remember a lot of the stuff that he used to do for Fantastic Four was kind of like these big elaborate machines that our readers always working on that was always so far out,
Mhm.
right? But then it had like all these hinges and like doohickeys and all that kind of stuff. But when you looked at it all kind of came together as a functioning machine in
Right.
that room that he was trying to portray, right? That Reed was
Right.
kind of open a portal to Dimension X, right? But you're like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
I could. So that was Kirby, right?
Yeah. Some of his stuff was very abstract, which I think was the hardest thing for me to understand is
Mm,
um, some of his shapes. It's almost like a Picasso, trying to understand Picasso.
Mhm.
Some of his shapes that he built were not logically three-dimensional. They were abstract constructs, so that they didn't obey the laws of perspective or things like that. There was, I think, one Fantastic Four where Reed Richards goes into um, this giant machine to go to God, was it not Dimension X, but
It's the negative zone.
Yeah.
a negative zone, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this big page of Reed walking up to this giant thing that he's going to enter into, and it just like it was so abstract looking, like only a parts here and there kind of made sense, and you just go, how on earth? Well, like it kind of is a freedom to not be so logical, which
mhm.
he didn't care about being logical. And I think too, to do 6 pages a day, you were just not thinking a whole lot. You were just flying and
Mhm.
putting stuff together and then moving on to the next page. You weren't um, concerning yourself too much with uh, you know logical construction.
The previous one looked very usable though. Like yours looked like realistically like something that would be used if the technology had gone in that direction. Like you could just imagine a guy moving a screen, like, oh, that screen's kind of weird, and he moved it down and kind of busted it a bit, and this keyboard got kind of moved over because some guy
Oh yeah,
moved it over. Like,
yeah. That's part of that love for retro tech. I think
Mhm.
the idea for Titan 8E was to take sort of a World War II era of machinery and technology with a lot of knobs and dials and primitive switches and little meters with the voltage ratings on them and things like that, and then make it feel like it could have come out of that era, but then also a little bit of futurism into it too.
Okay. Um, You mentioned that you had approached Dark Horse or had gone to San Diego with art to get work. So you had already been working as an animator and you're
Right.
trying to make the transition into comics, or how did
Well,
that work out for you?
I I'm such a nut about comics. I mean, I don't know how many of us all were sort of swept away at an early age, but I mean, I think I was, let's see, how old would I be in second grade, maybe 7 or 8. I just was crazy about comics. I mean, it was all Superman and Batman and DC stuff, but I didn't care. I just loved every second of it, and that's how I started drawing, was just copying uh, characters out of panels. And then when Marvel came along, then it was like, oh my God, now I'm totally a fanatic about Marvel comics. And so at an early age, I just wanted to do comics and nothing but comics. And then I had to survive in the real world. So I took that drawing ability that I had developed and applied it to animation to sort of be my fallback real day job. But I never gave up wanting to do comics. And then when I got that first gig with Dark Horse, from that point on, I've been alternating between working in animation and working in comics. And the balance of it is that in animation, only a handful of people ever see your artwork. You know, you send your artwork in, or you have meetings with the directors and a handful of other people. They see your work, and then it goes into the filing archive system, and that's where the work is today. So maybe sometimes your artwork may get pinned up on a bulletin board in the hallway somewhere, but nobody really ever sees your artwork. So it's very frustrating as an artist to not have your work seen. So, but the pay is great.
Mm.
And then conversely, the exact opposite of is that you can do a comic book and thousands of people will see your exact artwork. They'll hold it in your hands, they'll look at it, and that's immensely satisfying, but the pay is horrible. So I just kept going back and forth because I couldn't stay in comics too long without needing to get an infusion of cash again.
Cash, yeah, good time.
Sorry, go ahead.
So you go. I was about to say, did you go to like practical school? Like, what's your schooling background, just so people could kind of get an understanding of
Oh well,
your kind
I'm not a good example to go by. I kind of picked up. I mean, I drew on my own, copying pictures
Mhm.
from either comics or books or things. I just would try to draw what I see. So I developed a very good hand-eye coordination skill of drawing what was in front of me, but I never learned to draw from real life. So my artwork was very flat, very two-dimensional. I didn't really develop a three-dimensional understanding of what I was doing. And I was very limited as an artist. But fortunately, I got my first job at this animation studio as an apprentice. And I was just barely good enough to get like a 2-week trial job position. And my boss was one of the nicest, most patient, most talented guys I ever worked with. And he had a lot of faith in me, so he kept me on beyond that 2-week trial period. But he had to train me from scratch. I mean, I could show you how incredibly naive and untalented my first work was there. I mean, just just horrible. But he invested years of training, and it was sort of like it was a union position back then in animation, where you start as an apprentice and then you get bumped up to maybe an assistant, uh, and then maybe an assistant journeyman, and then a journeyman. so you kind of work your way up the ranks of the unionized animation studios to the point where you become a full-fledged professional.
Mhm.
And that's really where I got my education.
All right.
And so this image is from, I guess, Pinocchio. Is this from Coppola?
Right. Yeah.
What was it like working on that project? And I don't think that ever came out.
No. So I get a call one day and I pick up the phone and somebody goes, "Oh, hi, is this Bruce Zick?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hi, this is Francis Ford Coppola."
Whoa.
So
Wow.
the top of my skull exploded, and somebody that I knew, an artist that I knew, was down on his wine vineyard estate working on a Pinocchio project, and he had recommended to Francis that he bring me in as a background concept artist. So I got flown down there and hung out in Francis's vineyard estate for a while, and did a lot of artwork for Pinocchio, and he had about 5 or 6 other artists working on it too. And then it turned out a couple months later that he had not actually legally secured the rights to
Oh, wow.
So it was still owned by I forget which studio, Paramount or somebody, still owned it, and he lost it all. That whole venture was just a big loss for him.
Pinocchio's not an open property? Pinocchio?
No, it wasn't public domain. Or maybe
At the time, maybe?
it might have been public domain, but then a studio secured the rights to it somehow. I don't know how they
Okay.
did that.
Maybe the adaptive material they secured the rights to.
Could be. I think you can. Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, I don't really know how that works. Whether you can go to like Edgar Rice Burroughs, Tarzan. I think people can go to the estate of Edgar Rice Burroughs and then make a new deal with them to license the rights.
Okay.
Yeah, we know the Tarzan guy actually who wrote all the books on Tarzan, and he's been to the estate, and he's actually been on our show a few times. And yeah, Tarzan's like that, but it's not all like that. I think that they really held the reins to that property, John Carter and all of that. But like Conan, you can do. Where is it, Sean? You can.
In the UK, you could do Conan, but you have to call it something else. But
right.
within
So
the story, it's
you
Conan.
call it Sumerian or something,
Sumerian.
right? Barbaric Sumerian, and then there you go, and then that. But you look, you're just like, oh, that's obviously Conan.
It's Conan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, it'd be fun to do Conan. Man, I love Barry Smith's Conan so much, and
yeah,
I always wanted to do some. I mean, that's the thing about talking about immersive worlds, where I think Barry Smith built a very unique immersive world that the story took place in. It had this kind of Art Nouveau, kind of pre-Raphaelite kind of world that was unlike anything in comic books back then. And it was always hard for me to see Conan being done by other artists, no matter how good they were. But I just missed the world that Barry Smith built for Conan to exist in. And like somebody like John Buscema, who's just a draftsman supreme, I just felt like the world of those books was very realistic, very normal. And I just missed that crazy Barry Smith world.
Oh yeah. Barry set a standard with that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who were some of your influences? So, because like, I think every one of us here, you know how you talked about comics being the thing that grabbed you. Every one of us here can probably point to like those first couple of books or first couple of artists, which was the gateway to having you come back, right? Personally, for me, it was John Romita Sr.
Oh, okay.
Right, because I loved Spider-Man, and he was doing a lot of the product work for it, kind of like Garcia Lopez was for DC.
Yep.
So if it was a lunchbox, it was Romita Sr. who was doing it, and then he was also doing the Saturday morning cartoon, the Saturday morning strip.
Yeah.
Right? So we would get that like throughout the week here in Toronto. Who was it for you? And then obviously you've probably worked with a couple, or at least rubbed shoulders with a couple now that you're in the biz.
You're talking about sort of primary influences,
or just okay. We'll split it into two. Who was it that kind of hooked you? Like, I want to draw, and then later on, you're like, I love what they're doing. How can I incorporate some of that into?
Well, I was such a chameleon when I was first drawing. I mean, I loved the look of Bob Kane's or Dick Sprang, I think, was the maybe a more exciting Batman artist. But I love the graphic, simple look of a lot of old comic book characters, even like Wayne Boring's Superman. There's just something about Wayne Boring. People hate it, but for me, that was like such a strange world of Superman, but then really Jack Kirby was the guy that kind of turned my head around, and then a few years later, Jim Steranko kind of blew my mind, and to this day, if I'm on Facebook and a Jim Steranko page appears in the feed, I just look at it and I go, "Oh, it looks so good." It's so
just hooks you. Yeah, just hooks you.
It's so modern. It's so futuristic. It's so graphically well composed. Even his earliest stuff had that energy to it, and you know, I mean, I love Wally Wood a lot, but I felt like his figures were a little stiff, and I love Jack Davis. I mean, those early. Oh, okay. So when I was in high school, I saw one of the first Mad paperbacks that were produced after they'd been doing the Mad black and white magazines for several years, and then they would compile some of those stories into the first Mad paperbacks. And that was the first time I saw Wally Wood and Jack Davis and Will Elder, and that was sort of a revelation for me to just see that kind of artwork. It just kind of twisted my head around. But I guess I could name easily 10 other artists in the comic book field that post Steranko, Kirby, Wally Wood, like Barry Smith, for instance. But I never tried to draw like Barry Smith, but I would try to draw like Jack Kirby, and it was funny because, you know, his ideas of anatomy were so strange and exaggerated. I don't know how many hundreds have tried or thousands have tried to do Jack Kirby anatomy, and all failed miserably. Although Bruce Timm kind of did a nice job with his interpretation of Kirby, but I quickly realized, no, I can't do that kind of strange forced perspective, sort of exaggerated anatomy style of Kirby's. It's just like only Kirby can do that. So
crazy foreshortening.
Crazy, and it's sort of like your brain sort of accepts it and makes it work. But I think if somebody else were to look at it, they go, "That's the ugliest, incorrect, nonsensical figure drawing I've ever seen." And somehow, when you're young and you're trained to be brought up on Jack Kirby, you embrace it all as working perfectly, and you see it sort of through your heart and your mind. So that's sort of the short answer, actually.
Well, I'm gonna hop in before someone else does. What's your first comic that you remember picking up, purchasing, reading? Either one of those.
Well, Bugs Bunny and Hot Stuff and
we always make fun of Sean for Hot Stuff.
I love Hot Stuff. Yeah.
Baby Huey.
Oh no! Oh no!
You know what?
Harvey guys. Yeah.
Bruce, you gotta join us for our history of comics.
Oh my goodness!
Because we go through. It started with J-Man and Sean, but they would go through every year by month. So when did we stop? 64 or something?
I mean, I could actually tell you the exact date, but like,
right.
It's Mike's Amazing World of Comics. It's a comic website on the history. Every publication, every comic, every date, the full, like I was gonna say cast, the full creators for every issue. You could do it by cover date. You could do it by actual release
Selling
date.
Yeah.
Like this site is crazy. So we just literally one day were like, let's go to like, I don't know, Fantastic Four #1 and then see what came out that month. And then we just went every month.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're at now, 68 or no, I think
Well,
60,
not shortly after. I guess those were like Dell Comics and Disney Comics back
Dell,
then.
yeah.
But my next door neighbor, like I was maybe 8 or 9, and my next door neighbor was like a teenager, and he had a stack of old Superman comics, and those were like middle late 50s Superman, Wayne Boring, Al Plastino.
Yeah.
Al Plastino, bad Superman drawing. Maybe a little. I don't even think Kurt Swan had come into the scene yet. But I remember sitting in his room looking at those old Superman comics and just thinking, this is the strangest, weirdest artwork, and it was sort of mesmerizing to me. And then my cousins all were comic book fanatics, so if I went to their house, we'd want to see what comics do you have laying around that you bought recently, and then vice versa. They'd come to my place, and then we all read each other's comics voraciously. And when I would go to the barber shop would have a counter space full of comics that you could read while you were waiting and getting your haircut. And that was like kind of an exposure to old comic books too.
That's kind of cool way to expose people to comics at the barbershop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Well, we had them. I think that's what's missing. Comics were everywhere. You'd go to the convenience. I bought everything from a convenience store, like comic book store. I don't even remember. Like, I mean,
doctor's
that's
waiting room and all that stuff.
Like at Shoppers at the drugstore.
Well, it was kind of crazy because when Marvel first came out, they had terrible distribution, and in Indianapolis, in Indiana, only like Rexall drugstores carried Marvel comics, and no other places that carried comics carried Marvel comics.
Really? Wow, that's weird.
That's so bizarre.
My cousins and I were so just rabid about finding Marvel comics, especially the first Fantastic Fours, because we had never seen any comic books like the first Fantastic Fours. I mean, as you know, the characters would fight among themselves. It was very tumultuous, and it just had a different look entirely than the DC line of comics. So to find the next Fantastic Four, you had to go on the hunt and look for it. And if I was in my parents' car and we were driving down the street somewhere and we went by a Rexall drugstore, I'd start screaming to stop and pull over because I had to go in there and see if I could find the next Fantastic Four. It was insane.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah,
but there was a fun factor to that, and then maybe you find a couple, you get your buddy, I found an extra one or whatever, you can trade or something. Like, I got a Spider-Man, I got a Fantastic Four, why collect Fantastic Four? Okay, I'll swap it.
I mean, I have a vivid memory of like which drugstore I saw which early Fantastic Four, like the number 4 with the Submariner or Submariner on the cover, and he's running. He's got Sue and he's running into the surf, and the other 3 are behind him going, "Stop him! If he touches the water, he'll become invincible."
Yeah.
And I didn't know what invincible meant, but it's like, oh my God, this sounds really. I got to get this because I got to find out what that means, and then it was just so compelling.
Do you like covers? You brought this up because we've talked about this on our thing. Do you like covers where it has part of the story with like the text and like the word balloons and stuff, or do you, because now they do just like a pose, it's just like a guy posing or something, but versus like that scene is gonna happen in your comic.
Yeah, it's sort of like the cover is a teaser to give you a sense of what the story is going to be, and that was what was so impressive about what all those early 50s and 60s covers. I think they the competition was so great on the spinner racks that a cover had to convey to you a very, very intensely dramatic moment from within the story. Whether it was a guy on the edge of a cliff and there was lava down below that he was, and the cliff was crumbling and he was going to fall into the lava, but then the villain was approaching him and he had nowhere to go. Uh, it took that moment and kind of hooked you. Like I got to find out what's going to happen with this story moment. Versus, yeah, at some point along the way, covers became more like pinups.
Yeah,
where like they're posing and it's beautiful artwork and nothing to complain about in terms of the quality of it. But I think it relies on a familiarity that you already have now, and you've already got your shopping patterns sort of worked out. So you're going to get the next Wolverine no matter what's on the cover. Versus maybe maybe doesn't pull in anybody new and unfamiliar with Wolverine because it's not giving you a reason to buy something that you're totally unfamiliar with.
But it's not giving you a hook into the story or like a little bit of insight into the story to kind of say, I might be interested in this. What's Reed doing today? Why is he fighting Galactus? What is the reason why he's fighting Galactus, right?
Yeah. And I really respect that ability to design those covers.
They were great.
It's hard to pick that story moment. And of course, back to Jack Kirby, I mean, besides doing 6 pages a day, I don't know how many covers a month he was doing for almost all the Marvel books except for the Ditko books. Yeah. So he was just instinctively figuring out what that. I mean, even if it was a book that Don Heck drew or somebody else, that he just figured out, okay, this is the one moment. And there were some of those split covers, like the Tales to Astonish or something, where you're sharing a book. So you had even smaller space to work within to convey a story moment so quickly and so dramatically and compelling. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just looked at a Tales of Suspense where half of it is Iron Man getting attacked by a Tuma, and then the other half is Captain America tied up and and Red Skull's, oh my God, he's gonna shoot him. You're like, what is happening? So that's two things. You're like, I gotta read both. I don't know which one to read first.
And so beautifully composed, so beautifully put together. Oh my God.
Yeah, because it's weird because it's like each half has its own composition.
Right.
And then the pair are composed as well too as one image. It's really interesting how that was done.
Do you think we're more aware of the creators now versus like you don't need to sell the story like what Bruce was saying? It's like I'm just gonna buy Wolverine because it's Wolverine and I don't care. Firstly, I don't care. It's Wolverine. I'm buying it no matter what. Or also, if you see those names, you see your names on the thing. It's like this is this person, this person, this person. Like, oh, I gotta get his. Like I'm following the creator.
Right.
I don't care what the story is. I'm either following a creator or I'm following a character, regardless of what the story is.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine creating a new book that nobody knows and creating a cover that's going to grab people on something brand new. I mean, sometimes if the artist is just unique enough, their own style can grab you, but also that information that it's got to show, because so much artwork after a while, I mean, there's not a lot of new tricks
you've seen a bunch of you've seen enough after you collect after 5 years comics. You've seen enough of the cover variations to kind of know what's kind of going on some of them. So I get what you mean in regards to that. It's I think there's a level of some people are following I think people are more following some of the creatives now
Right.
and what they're doing with the creative story than they. And yeah, they depending on the cover artist, but there's also the idea that I think people are a little bit more in tune with some of the characters now. I would think, but I'm not too sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a dilemma. I mean, every time I do a book, I'm not like a well-known name in the business, and I do a lot in brand new books. I mean, I'm constantly struggling to answer all those questions of how's this going to stand out in a comic book store where there's hundreds of titles, and every week, I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of books come out every week when your book comes out, and I don't have any answers at all. But I do want you to know, Vaughn, that you have a halo.
Yeah, you do have a halo. That is very funny.
That is amazing. Oh, don't move now, Vaughn. Don't move.
They just must have been like, yeah.
I don't know if that's from your room or if that's just
my light behind me and sitting the halo.
It was very well placed.
I noticed it a little while ago. I was like, 1 second, what's going on?
You know what? Who can whistle the Saint theme song?
No, I can't.
There you go.
Roger Moore, see? I know the coolest guy ever.
Far from it.
I think certain names like Mike, for example, Frank Miller, any of these guys, like they're just gonna sell it. Like so it's gonna sell because you got your hardcore guys. If Frank Miller puts out something, I'm just gonna auto buy it. Like I don't even care, right? It's just gonna auto. So it's like you got certain guys that are just the names. So it's a positive in that sense. Like, but for someone brand new right now, I'm 20 years old. I want to start drawing and making a comic. It's it'd be pretty tough unless you somehow got in with Marvel or somebody who can like push it right out.
Going on a big name book.
I mean, you'd have to. Like, I don't even know.
Like back in the day, you could be a no name, and you got on X-Men. You were kind of getting your that was your ticket. They kind of pushed your badge up into the big leagues, right? I remember reading an interview, and they had Joe Mad. He was just a gopher / intern over at Marvel, and then they're like, okay, we want you to pick up the Uncanny book and draw the Uncanny book, and he's like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm ready for that responsibility, right? And look how he turned out, right? So it's one of those things. I don't know if there's big books like that anymore at Marvel. I think DC has a couple of them if you put them on Batman and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
But I think those are few and far between now, I think.
I think the talent's they're doing it on their own.
Yeah.
Like guys are just going out on their own. Mark Miller's like, okay, I'm putting out my own book. That's it. Like, and then it's my control. It's all on me. I get everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just read something last week, I think, that said that the age of the artist celebrity has returned to comics because of the DC. Is it the absolute?
It's absolute Batman. Yeah.
We just did a story on that.
that they're selling mega numbers, and the artists are becoming sort of like heroes of the business.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because Vaughn and I, we talked about that earlier this week, and Sean and J-Man and Bruce, you can chime in, but I was like, I'm reading the article. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it's comics. And I know everything starts from the printed word, and Bruce, you're a writer as well too. You wrote, your own, create your own stuff, but it's a visual medium. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I personally have never bought a book because of the writer first.
Yeah.
If the writer was good, like Roger Stern for me doesn't get enough credit. If he was writing a book, I'd pick it up. Mm-hmm. I'm not necessarily chasing down Alan Moore or anyone like that, but my collection downstairs is full of certain artists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Todd McFarlane. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the whole notion of like, I get it. Maybe it's the marketing of it, of the medium, but for me, it's always been artist driven.
Yeah. So Todd said this. I'll repeat what he said. He said, I can sell. He goes, if Michelangelo drew a comic book that was written by my dog, I'm going to be able to sell that comic. He goes, it's like, if, I don't know, pick your best writer or something, right? Like, if Stephen King wrote a comic that was drawn by my grandmother, it's like, that's not going anywhere. Right? Or maybe it'll be sold because it's Stephen King's name, but it's not going to sell as well as the Michelangelo comic or whatever. Right?
Well, I think Todd McFarlane's a great example of an artist who's so idiosyncratic in his style that if he just suddenly his artwork appears on a cover in the midst of everything everybody else is doing, and then suddenly here's a Todd McFarlane cover, you're going to go, wow, this is a new look. This is a new style. And it's going to make you want to pick up the book and read it, no matter, what's happening on the cover. I think some artists just have that luck,
that edge,
or edge, that they're just different, and people are always looking for different.
Yeah.
Speaking
of, just like, who was it? It was like, even when was it like Rob took over New Mutants? Back in the late 80s, he took over New Mutants, and it was like, what is going on with this artist? And then it just blew up, New Mutants. And New Mutants was like a D-list.
It was nothing. It was
nothing.
That they said, do what you want, basically.
Yeah, it was just floundering for the longest time. And then as soon as he came in and did it, it was like, I remember I had been collecting New Mutants. I don't know if I was collecting X-Men. And it just happened to be, I think I was in the store at the same time when he took over New Mutants. So I ended up starting picking up New Mutants around the same time. And then it was just like, next thing you know, New Mutants is one of the #1 selling books at my local comic book store. Before, you couldn't get people to buy that book off the rack, right?
X-Force #1, which is a brand new team based on nothing, is still the second highest or whatever after Jim Lee X-Men. But that's crazy.
Look what he's doing now. I mean, he is so ridiculed and reviled for his artwork, but he's got it. He just selling directly to
direct to market,
to his own readers. He's not going through any distribution system, and he's killing it with his sales numbers.
I'm one of the supporters.
So, go figure. I mean, he's different. I got to give him that. He's different.
You can't knock his business acumen, that's for sure. As much as you might knock on him for whatever other reason, he's figured out some kind of formula and he's made it work.
Right.
He said the same thing for Todd as well too, right? Todd was one of those type of people too. Like, he figured out his angle and he's made it work.
Yeah, who'd have thought Spawn would take off? But he poured his guts into those books. I mean, he made the artwork so irresistible. You just would have to look at it and go, this artist is so committed. I sort of, when I was first getting in the business, I was drinking a lot of coffee and pouring my guts into every page I did, regardless of time. And nowadays, it's like, who has the luxury of spending 3 days on one page just to kill it to the nth degree? I've got to produce. I've got to make a living.
Yeah.
And even at some point, is that artwork better than, say, a Mike Mignola page, where that's full of emptiness? It's very zen. There's not really a lot of detail. It's very graphic, black solid shapes, and they both are loved by people, but one it has no square inch of emptiness, and the other has almost every square inch of emptiness except for
paid by the line. or whatever. Oh, get another couple lines on Spawn's face.
Paid by the squiggle. Yeah.
I think each guy brings the style. I think that's what you're doing as well. Like it's like it fits what's happening. I think like versus like like Spawn maybe won't work. Like I don't know. He's not gonna draw hot stuff, right? Like imagine hot stuff. Todd McFarlane's hot stuff. It's like super veins everywhere and like flames behind the guy. Like it'd be like this is just a weird, right? So I think everyone has their style that fits their thing. And that's and when you find that niche, then that's where you become more legendary that way, because like okay, now like everyone thinks, oh yeah, Spawn. I mean, Spawn, is that character that amazing? Like he looks awesome and the whole comic looks awesome. All the monsters look cool, right? And that's the edge of that. Right. And I was buying it for the art and I went up to 150 and I started with 300 and now it's on 370 something or whatever they're on now. Yeah. Like, oh my God, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, like you look at the guys that they're saying now, like Daniel Taylor,
Daniel Warren Johnson,
Nick Dragata.
Yeah. Those guys are just kind of killing it right now. And you wouldn't think, and their style, you would look at it too, and you wouldn't think those would be the most conventional styles. That would be the guys that are the top right now, but it's working for them.
What books are those on?
The Absolute Batman and Daniel Warren. He's done Transformers, and
which I got all those. Yeah.
Dropkick something. The wrestling one as well too. He's done a bunch of different stuff.
But his again fits. It fits that thing. Like it might not be good on other, like for whatever reason he got. I don't know if he got lucky, whatever, but he got on Transformers, and it looked cool for Transformers. And the other one was the do a drop kick or no, what was it called? Yeah,
do a power bomb.
Oh, power bomb. Like, I knew. Yeah. I'm a wrestling guy. I should have known that. He got lucky on those, right? And I think that might have been his own work.
Yeah, I think it's his creator own one that he
That's
did.
His creator own one, so it fits, right?
It makes me think too about Humberto Ramos.
Yep, Humberto. Yep.
Like there's a guy who's really stands out for his style. And he works with full conviction in his commitment, but it just is like, oh, this guy is different and great in his own way.
Yeah, took me a long time to get to be okay with Humberto Ramos.
I know.
It's just like that. I just had a hard time when it's like. Not to sounds like not to be an asshole, but like it's just like everybody had a stroke and everybody was leaning to one side. It's like everybody's face leaned to one side, and after a while, you're like, okay, some of it works really well, more than others. But I mean, he's been in the industry. It's funny because Humberto Ramos and Chris? I always want to say Bacalo. They came up around the same time, and I really preferred Bacalo more so. For his stuff, and his stuff kind of lend itself more to a Magnolia, a little more abstract, heavy blacks, really graphic. Really hard to read at sometimes in regards to his panel work.
Type stuff too, as well.
Yeah, really steampunky. Yeah. But some of his panel work was definitely lacking. I think he's gotten better in the future years, but some of the panels were hard to tell what was going on in some of these panels in regards to the breakdowns and stories. But he's got like. After a while, you kind of get used to it. It has really unique stuff.
It's a lot like acting, though. Like there's some actors that you're like, oh, this person's amazing, and then you realize they've been working for 15 years, and they're in bit parts. But like it's the timing, right?
It's the timing, yeah.
I mean that comes together. Bruce, I just want to flip back to your work for a sec, because we were on a stream, maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, with J-Man and Sean, and we were looking at old Avengers, and they were using and this is one of actually Vaughn loves this stuff, zip tones and duotones and all that kind of stuff. And I had mentioned your name during the stream and saying that you used to use that stuff like in Zone Continuum and whatnot. Right. So for anyone that's watching, and even for the panel, can you explain? And I'm going to pull some of your stuff up. Can you explain what that is and then how it works?
Okay, well, first of all, there's two different kinds of techniques. There's the zipatone, which you would get these sheets of that you'd peel off or cut these patterns, whether they be stripes or dots or cross hatching, you would peel off this film and put it onto your artwork page and cut it to fit into the spaces that you want. And a lot of people were doing that. I mean, even Steranko, I think, was one of the first people I started noticing creating those kind of zip tone special effects, which I didn't see other artists doing. But what you're looking at here and what Steranko and other people did was work on a special paper called duo shade paper. And you would get this heavy kind of bristle board, and you could almost see a very light blue grid pattern in the paper that wouldn't reproduce. But the board paper was chemically treated, and you would get these two little vials of clear liquid, and you would get a brush, dip it into one vial, and brush that liquid onto the paper, and suddenly this grayscale would appear. The chemical the liquid would interact with the paper surface to produce that maybe 30% gray tone kind of crosshatch pattern. And then the other liquid that you could brush on maybe produced a 60% gray tone. So it's the coolest thing to work with because you're literally, it's like magic. You're moving your wet brush across this paper and you're seeing this gradation tone suddenly appear in your artwork. And in the 40s and 50s, it was a popular technique for a lot of commercial artists that appeared in magazines. There are a lot of people, because most magazines weren't switching over to color yet. They were doing a lot of black and white artwork and a lot of black and white photography, and a lot of those artists like to work with duo shade. And then when Mad Magazine shifted from the monthly color comics to their very first black and white Mad Magazine format, Wally Wood and Jack Davis were doing the most brilliant, beautiful duo shade work you'll ever see. That period of art by those two guys to me is almost like a zenith of creativity by two people that I don't know if it's, maybe it's been, I like to be very hyperbolic about things, so I'll say it's never been equal to, but anyway, they were doing tons of artwork every month in this duo shade process, and Wally Wood especially really mastered it, but Jack Davis was doing it too, and then comics didn't, as far as I know. I mean, I'm not that much of an authority on it, but comics, I just sort of remember Jim Steranko starting to do that in the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. books. He was starting to do both zip-tone and duo shade, and sort of like scratching your head going, what is this guy doing? But they're two very different techniques.
Yeah, the Jim Steranko ones, I remember he used to do it with like his kind of like his covers.
Yeah, his covers had a lot of it.
His covers had a lot of it when he was kind of doing those crazy kind of shieldish type ones where,
right.
Yeah. So
some of it kind of looked a little psychedelic because he was getting these zipatone patterns that were like wavy undulating lines and things, and then he'd cut those out and peel them into the artwork, and it would look like pop art kind of appearance.
Never heard of it as zipatone.
How long's that process?
I'm sorry, how long
is that process? Like how long is it to do the duo shade and all that kind of stuff? Like does it increase your production time or?
Well, if you're doing a black and white book, I mean, you'd either, damn, I I don't know what other. I mean, either you'd have to laboriously cut and paste and peel Zipatone all over the place. It would just take an eternity to make a page feel fully like a rendered image of black, white, and gray tones. Whereas to just brush it on was a very quick process. So you could just really produce a panel of what felt like a well created proportional rendered image infinitely quicker with duo shade. But
So
now,
this panel would be one of those situations. You use dual shade on this one.
yeah, these are all these zone images are all duo shade.
Okay.
It was like I think some people have figured out how to do it in Photoshop now. I was given a process years ago, but I never did it. They don't make the duo shade anymore, so it's one of those lost arts. But and the thing is, like, if you try to do gray tones in Photoshop, you have to really work hard to not get it to look too airbrushy, slick, and kind of perfectly clean. The Duo Shade had a kind of a rough, kind of naturalistic effect that I just really liked.
Here's a silly question. Are like I didn't know this until the first ever artist edition book came out, which is like those super big ones, right? I didn't realize that, the artists are using these huge things and then it's making it small. Are you like, stupid question is are you drawing on pencil and paper and then you scan it, or is it on an iPad now, or what is it?
Oh, I just refuse to go digital, but partly because of the economics of it. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's got their reasons for the way they work, but the fact that if you do a traditional pencil and ink piece of paper with your art, that has value in a resale market. Yeah. So I would, and Lord knows you're not getting much payment for the actual time to do the artwork. Yeah. So a lot of times for artists, they rely on that resale of the original art to kind of make economic sense out of the business.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast, I think just this week on Monday, and somebody asked something similar to David Finch, asking about why doesn't he use digital? And he was kind of saying the same thing. He used it as predominant because, one, he never got into it at the time when he felt that he could have gotten into digital and made it work. He said he's tried it a couple of times, but he goes, even more so, the underlining factor is that it really comes back down to the fact that the resale market for his art is kind of key in regards to originals and that type of stuff, especially his pages with that stuff. And that's why he still does a lot of traditional art.
Right.
In his stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly, why somebody would want to do digital unless it speeded up the process so much that they could sort of get your page rate. You could really pump it out and get a faster turnaround, more pages a month and getting more of a page rate per month. And then if the sale of the book was doing great and you got royalties, then maybe it makes some economic sense that way. But I just think, having your artwork available to sell to the fans is a great extra source of income.
Yeah, I see a lot of guys now touting the fact what they do is they do their breakdowns in digital because then they can kind of correct things and get things going, and then they print it out on Bristol board or heavy paper, and then they kind of get that part. So it helps speed up the process that way in regards to the production time. And then some of them will go straight to inks from there because they've already done the breakdowns loose enough that they feel like they could just kind of go straight to inks, and yet they still get an original piece of art in the process that they could resell as well too, right?
Yeah. Well, I kind of work almost the reverse. I do the pencil art and ink it and then scan it and then do the painting in the computer. But I get almost a second crack at my artwork once it's scanned in Photoshop. I can shrink things down or enlarge things or even move things around. There's a lot of creativity in Photoshop on how you can kind of fine tune your artwork, which is wonderful. And but I I don't know how many artists have this problem, but I'm constantly making my artwork too big in each panel, and then when you factor in the word balloon that's going to go in there, suddenly that panel is really crowded because I just fall in love with the art. I'm just going, oh, I'm going to draw this head, and it's going to, and then the hair, and maybe there's a hand in this panel, and it just like I just get carried away because I love the art of it, and that's what I kind of admire about Mike Mignola's stuff is he can really let empty space breathe around his character. So even when you add the character and then you add the word balloon, there's still a lot of empty space in a panel, and it just kind of breathes. And when you look at the whole page, it's kind of relaxing and refreshing. The eye can just kind of go from panel to panel and absorb the story versus if the panels are full of detail and then you have 6 or 8 of those panels on a page and they're all conflicting it against each other, and then you're cramming in word balloons, the page is kind of a mess of detail, and there's like an eye fatigue to me that I don't enjoy looking at artwork that's that crowded. But I've never mastered the ability to think about that when I'm doing the artwork.
I get that.
Do you know where the word balloons are going to go ahead of time? Because I'm reading a comic now and I'm like, this is really overwritten. it's like massive text. I'm like, is this guy writing a novel? But do you know, like, are you ever like, oh man, all these word balloons kind of messed this part up. I really like this part. Or
well, I sometimes I work from my own script in first. So when I'm drawing, I have a sense of what's going to be in each panel, balloon wise,
right?
And I'm always guilty in all my earlier books of writing way too much. Like I grew up in the time when writers really wrote, and there was like it took a long time to read a comic book.
Yeah.
I mean, that one page was like it's a novel. Reading this one page, there's so many balloons. There's so much interaction. There's the characters going back and forth in a panel, and then they would have captions.
Yeah.
The writer was like waxing eloquently to the reader, setting up what was going to be in that one panel. So that was sort of where I came from, and I thought this is the way comics are supposed to be. You're supposed to have a lot to read. You're supposed to take time to experience the story. And what I didn't realize was when I started doing my own books that the audience changed a lot, and it did become a much more visual medium. And people felt like the words were crowding out the artwork, and I started seeing more and more that maybe there'd be one small word balloon in one panel. There'd just be maybe a page, maybe had 15 words on the whole page or something. And of course, there were a lot of action pages too, where there's oomph, off, biff, bow, pow, and almost no dialogue. But I just couldn't wrap my head to accept that that's the way comics were. And I would continue to write a lot of exposition and a lot of world building, and I'd want to throw in ideas and have a lot of character interplay, and I didn't realize at that time that people were just not interested in it. They were just like going, "Oh, this he has no idea what he's doing." So it's only my last couple books that I've done over the years that I finally went, okay, I'm going to let the artwork tell the story. I'm really going to write minimally, let it breathe more, and then in a lot of ways, I think that ended up being my best work.
Yeah, some of the new Marvel books you could read in like 5 minutes because they're so light.
You need that medium spot, right?
Yeah, you're paying $5 for a book that takes 5 minutes to read, and then what are you getting for your $5? And you're competing against other media where, like if you're playing games or video,
attention,
or whatnot, for your buck, you get a lot more interaction with other media. But for a comic book, and it's a 20-page story, you're just a lot of pinup pages, a lot of action pages, and I mean, I'm not the one to really say all this because I don't read that many comics to know what's out there, but I know that this is definitely a trend that books tend to be underwritten and let the artwork tell the story more, which is fine.
Oh, for sure. I remember Steve used to curse Spider-Man for a while there. Go buy a Spider-Man book and read it in 10 minutes before he gets to the car.
I think also you need that medium because the Golden Age books and in the Silver Age too, it's like they're like massive. Like my wife reads manga and she reads like a 20 chapter of manga in like 2 minutes, right? Because it's all fighting. But like me, it's like she's like, oh my God, look at the text on this. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of text. But then what you guys were saying in the 90s, it's like splash page, pin up, splash page. You're like, okay, double splash. You're like, oh, okay, I just read Youngblood 1 in 1 minute. But like, there needs to be a medium, right? There needs to be that medium.
I think in the early 90s, there's a decent medium in there somewhere where like some of the books they were pretty heavy in some of their copy. Because they had all the narration, and I think somewhere along the way, me and Steve were talking about this one point, that they kind of got rid of like characters' inner dialogue and narration points as well too.
Bubbles and all that.
Thought bubbles are gone. Like thought bubbles, I think they have to certain, but like the inner dialogue, and even just the narration setup, all that stuff is gone now, right?
Well, do they even do thought balloons anymore?
No.
Because that was kind of cool. Like
for sure.
I mean, I think Frank Miller, when he did Dark Knight, he started using captioning for what the character was thinking. So, I mean, it wasn't in the shape of a balloon with a little tail on it, but you could hear the character's voice, which sort of was like a trick that I started using. Like, okay, I can't do thought balloons, but I can use captions to make it kind of artsy feeling, but you're still hearing what the character is thinking.
That's important.
In a monologue,
you want to engage with the character.
Nobody does captions anymore. I used to love Stan Lee's captions.
He was the spokesperson. He was like I think someone called him the Ryan Seacrest of Marvel.
He's the ambassador, right?
You felt like your wacky uncle was sitting down with you, telling you a story. And then
you put jabs and be like, remember what happened in last issue, or like check out that Fantastic Four or whatever. He try to get you up. He try to upsell you midway through the book. And you're like, come on, Stan.
Certainly, a lot of those captions kind of reiterated what you were already seeing in the panel. And then they rushed into the room, not knowing what lay ahead in that door that was starting to open in the corner, and then that's exactly what the panel.
And then each guy has his commentary. Oh my God, he's so strong. Wow, he looks tough to beat. I don't know if we can take him on. He looks cute, or whatever. The girl would always say, like, "Oh, he looks really cute." It's like Wasp would always be like, "Wasp." She's always like, "He looks handsome."
The great criticism of later '60s Marvel comics, when Stan Lee was kind of just dialing it in. They weren't creating new universes or new realms of wonder anymore. They were just sort of recycling. Oh, here's another Mole Man story, or here's another Mad Thinker and his puppets story. But then Jack would draw a beautiful panel of a guy falling and then Stan would write, "I'm falling," and it was like, "Yes, I see that you're falling."
I like also saying things like gasp, like saying the word
Choke,
gasp or
yeah.
choke.
That's a very EC Comics thing. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing harder than writing sound effects,
Yeah.
like crack, pop, like how, I think that's an art form. Like when something gets hit or something explodes, you just can't rely on the same old cliches. You want it to sound a little bit interesting and different. I think Mike Mignola was really good at having, and Frank Miller. They had very unusual sound effects in their books.
Yeah, for sure. So Bruce,
okay, gentlemen, sorry to
heading up,
before you. I'm gonna head out, guys. Thanks again, Bruce, for jumping on.
Hey, great to talk with you, Vaughn.
And have a great night, guys. Okay.
All right,
you take care. Thanks, Vaughn.
And don't forget your halo.
I'll try not to.
Bye, Mr. Templar.
He's gonna disappear in smoke. He doesn't want us to see him disappear in smoke and rise up.
So Bruce, since we're on the Marvel line, what was it like working for the House of Ideas? Because I think you did some Thor, if I'm not mistaken.
I did some Thor. I started with Pirates of Darkwater.
Yeah.
Was my first series, and then I got put on Thor. And I don't know how much you want to hear a sad story, but it was a real mess. It was a sad story. It was sort of, okay, so I grew up on Thor when Kirby and Lee were doing it, and those Thor books to me were unbelievably imaginative, and they went to places undreamt of, and the imagination just poured out of every book, and I, of course, who wouldn't love to do Thor someday? And then when I was asked to do Thor, it was at a phase then where Thor became sort of psychotic. He was having a psychosis breakdown, and he was imagining this like an Amazon, I forget her name, Valhalla, not Valhalla, but anyway, he was fantasizing. He thought he was interacting with this woman, Amazon, but it was all from his imagination, and he was nuts. And so every book, some guy would come, what's I'm trying to remember
Beta Ray Bill was one guy.
Popular guy with a horse's head.
Oh, Beta Ray Bill. Yeah, you're right, Sean.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Beta Ray Bill.
Beta Ray Bill. Yeah. So somebody would come and try to help him, and then they would just get in a big fight and beat the shit out of each other, and then that was the end of that book. And then next book, he'd have another psychosis breakdown and attack somebody, and they'd have a big fight, and then that would end. And that was just, the stories weren't grabbing me at all, and I had an inker. It was breaking my heart the way my book was, pencils were interpreted, and I didn't like the writing. The writer didn't like me. The inker didn't like my pencils. And like nobody was happy working with each other. And every month when I would go get the newly printed book, I'd open it up and my heart would just sink, because my pencils were just lost. And so eventually it all fell apart. Nobody wanted to work with each other anymore. So it was a bit of a disaster, sadly.
Yeah, I gotta read those again, because 460, the cover for that boasts a bold new direction. So you're saying the bold new direction is that he has psychosis breakdowns, and
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a new direction, maybe not bold, but
yeah.
Jump on point.
Yeah, it was just like recycling, like one issue Hercules and Thor got into a fight, and then another issue was a Super Skrull and him got in a fight, and yeah, it was just It was really disappointing. And then I never worked for Marvel again after that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Oh, this is the Infinity Crusade stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
They're never going to make that movie, but anyway.
Yeah.
Not with what the story is. But
Yeah.
So then when it came to like after Marvel, when did you decide I'm going to create your own stuff and then started doing like Primordial and Zone Continuum?
Well, I mean, because I love comics so much, I just wanted to do my own stories primarily because I didn't realize I was not a good writer. So that was I had that going for me and wanting to just do everything myself. And back then it was you could find a publisher that would publish you and like Dark Horse, for instance, they didn't really have editors that would help you to make your book better and guide you to be a good storyteller. I think Dark Horse felt like they wanted to give the creator full freedom, for better or for worse, and leave them alone. So my editors would basically correct the grammar and maybe point out some really egregious error, but they weren't kind of going, well, what are you really trying to do here, or what's supposed to happen on this page? I don't understand, or they wouldn't critique you. So I did a lot of books that were I had the joy of doing everything, but I also had the limitation of doing everything. But uh, even before I did Thor, I had done Zone Continuum, and then the first Argosy book for Dark Horse was my own story. I guess I just love the idea of doing my own thing, and I did a series called Terminal Point for Dark Horse, and then Atlas. When I was doing Thor, I showed Mike Richardson my Thor pages, and he said, "Okay, well, let's do. Why don't you do something like that for us?" So I did Atlas as a response to that. But if I had had a good writer on it, I think Atlas could have succeeded. But I was my own worst enemy, being my writer on that. So Atlas didn't succeed that well. And then, slowly it's just the learning curve of how to be a better writer. It took, I think, to get to Primordial, which was one of my last graphic novels for Dark Horse. I think that was the first time I think I figured it out. I figured out how to have the right balance of being the right kind of writer with the right kind of artwork. So after all these years, it's sort of like I think I got it now. Hopefully it's not too late, but I got it finally.
Right.
So Dark Horse is creator owned, right? It lets you.
Steve, you know how much you want to do your own books and the joy of it, and being a storyteller at heart, and wanting to entertain people with your own stories.
Yeah, I think when you have that kind of push where you like whatever muse you have is kicking you in the butt, you can't not do it. Like there's that drive, right? And you want to do the best you can. And I look at it, at least when it comes to the stuff that I'm doing, it's like I'm trying to put together a team where everyone's kind of a specialist and really good at what they do. And then for me personally, when I'm not drawing, I try to step back as much as possible. I think I read something where I think it was Eric Larson said it's easier for me to rewrite something than to redraw it. So if the art comes back and it's not exactly what I was expecting, change the dialogue. It's all good.
Oh yeah, right.
As long as it doesn't like derail the narrative, kind of thing.
Well, I used to get mad at some writers that I had to work with that they would just write without the conscientious thinking of what the poor artist was going to have to do in this panel.
Yeah.
And it'd be a small panel at the bottom, and it's like the wind was blowing through an alley full of trash cans and characters laying on the ground with newspapers flying in the wind, and a shopping cart in the foreground with a cat that was homeless. I mean, literally something like that in a little panel. And I looked at it and went, I am not drawing that.
That's an Alan Moore thing, right? Alan Moore's, they say that Alan Moore's like crazy. Like, it's like, forget it. Don't be his artist. Cause it's like 3 pages on what happens on this panel. You're like, how am I going to draw all this?
Yeah. Burning the Marvel method. Not that way at all.
Yeah. You want I think the writers, you can't have people segmented. The writers need to be like, okay, the artist wants to draw something exciting. Okay. Like, yeah, I got to tell a story for sure, but it can't be dull. It can't just be pages of dullness, like 2 people sitting in a restaurant talking. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, that's not very fun. So you have to keep in mind that it is a comic book. Mm-hmm. So a comic book is not a novel. If I want to write a novel, I'll write one. Right? It's like the artist needs to be excited. You got to get that. Oh, I can't wait. What am I drawing today? You know, this sounds cool. Yeah. You know, so you're happy with it. I think that's why a lot of artists, and there's kind of like, I'll just do my own thing. Cause like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, literally you do wake up in the morning thinking about what you're going to do that day. And if it's from somebody's script where they're in a restaurant, you know, talking at a table for 2 or 3 pages,
right?
It's really hard to get going that morning versus, and then their spaceship landed on an alien planet full of, you know, or whatever. Right. Oh man, I can't wait to get started on that.
Do you ever throw in, if you get something like that, you could throw in little, like, there's a bunch of aliens and you could draw whatever you want, right? It's like the spaceship lands with aliens all around it. It's like, oh, I'll draw my buddy as an alien, or I'll draw my.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot of strange stuff that nobody ever notices sometimes.
Yeah, sure. So let me ask you, since you've been doing this for a while, and you have a love of comics and animation and movies, what are you a fan of? What's out currently now that you are a fan of?
Well, I kind of am a bad person to maybe ask that, because I'm so busy trying to juggle all the daily chores and family and work, and where I live, I have a lot of property I have to take care of. I don't absorb much entertainment like I would like to. And I mean, I just absolutely loved Marvel movies for a while. I just thought they're on such a roll that they could do no wrong. And then now it's like, oh, I've lost all confidence that anything coming from Marvel is going to be good. And the Superman movie, it was like, oh God, I have no confidence in James Gunn. And so it's like, I don't even want to watch the streaming stuff. Do I want to watch another Star Wars? The Star Wars has been so disappointing. After, it's like I don't feel like wasting a lot of time being invested in the series. But my wife and I, we like to sit down at the last hour or so of the evening, and we'll consume stuff on Netflix, but it's more like general entertainment. It's not like science fiction, fantasy, adventure kind of stuff. It's like Ted Lasso. I mean, it's just like
right.
It's so magnificently written, and the character. That's the kind of stuff I don't buy comics anymore, just on a practical level. So I'm totally out of touch. But the stuff that I grew up, that I love, I mean, I still love the old movies. I still love the old books, and if anything, my appreciation for them only increases. And if I see something on Turner Network movies, like an old movie, I just adore them. If it's black and white, even better. But I just love love the medium of entertainment, but I'm terrible at keeping up with it and or wanting to take a chance on. Like I heard Wonder Man from Marvel was really good, uh, and then I heard Daredevil is really killing it the season 2, but I thought the season 1 was so disappointing. I just don't know if I want to even take the time to look. Okay.
Bruce, listen, you're right in everything you just said, and you're very nice about it.
You're preaching to the choir.
I'm not nice about it when I do my stuff, but you've missed nothing. I'll let you know.
Okay.
you're totally good. I'm a black and white movie master. James Cagney is my favorite actor. It's like I love all these movies. I've got probably 200 or 300 just classic movies. But you're missing nothing, man. Don't worry about it.
I don't want to know. I mean, it's sort of like I sound like an old fart when I talk about music. Oh, the music in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Now that was great music, and the stuff today I listen to it and it's so boring. And they go, well, how do you really know? I mean, are you really listening to all the new music that's coming out? And I have to say, well, I just think if there was something really amazing going on, I would catch wind of it one way or another. But
yeah,
I'm very much the wrong person to critique, what's contemporary in our world.
You did a great job answering the question.
I think now we're in an interesting time because we have access to a lot of these old things, and I think what's happened is that people become that recency bias, like this is the best thing because that's really all that they've really consumed, whereas like at least Sean and I don't know Steve as much in your taste of outside of the comics, but like we watch old movies. Like I've got tons of silent films. I'm a film guy, and so we watch like all of this stuff. Sean and I took like film school, so with the comics as well. Like we've been reading. Like I'm reading Golden Age. Like I went back to Action Comics 1, and somebody asked us. I'm on a bunch of groups. Where do you read Fantastic Four? I said, well, I think the best starting point. Let me think about this. Maybe Fantastic Four #1. Like read #1. Like we're on issue 200, and I just read 207 just today, right before coming on here. So we've been reading them in order, Avengers. And when we're reading them, and I am reading new comics, there is a difference. It's not just the, get off my lawn. I only like my old stuff. It's like, there is a difference. They knew what they were doing. I think some people just want to get to the next thing. Like I'm doing comics because I want that Netflix deal, or I want that IP to go somewhere. There's not too many guys in this, and your work is amazing, and what you're doing is fantastic. But like you love the comics. Like this is the medium. I love this medium, and you said it. You're into animation. A lot of guys are just doing it just to get to the next thing. Like, I'm working at McDonald's until I become an actor or whatever it is, right? Versus like actually caring about the comics. And I think this is why we mentioned Rob. What's his face? Tom McFarlane. All those guys, Rob Liefeld, like they're still doing comics. Rob Liefeld doesn't need to do comics anymore. What does he need to do them for? The guy's got tons of money. He's doing it because he wants to, and he's selling it direct. Why not? Right? Because he loves it. And that's what's missing, even for the shows. Like the early Marvel ones, they were really invested in making the best that they could, like Iron Man, Captain America. They really were like, we need this to work, so we're gonna do this the best we can. Like I just watched Captain America for the 20th time last weekend. So
what a great movie.
Yeah.
And every now and then I do, like I like to sometimes just turn on the TV and go, what's on right now? Scan through the guide, and then like an example is I started watching an Equalizer movie.
Oh my God! Yes.
And I went, shit. This is really good, and I can't take my eyes off Denzel Washington. It was just like I totally missed this, and that happens a lot. Where and even the reviews may really be critical on it, but to me, there's something really working in a lot of movies, in spite of what other people think. And I go, oh come on, this is a good movie. Yeah, this and yeah that, I know, but still. They're doing something really right here also, and so I tend to look more at the audience reviews than I do the critics reviews. The critics, I think, always get it wrong.
I think the critics, like Roger Ebert and like Gene Siskel, like Siskel and Ebert, they were watching everything and reviewing it. Whereas I think now Netflix works where it's like you liked one thing and now you're going to get a bunch of those recommendations. So you get stuck in your little mode, and if it doesn't fit that mold, you're like, it wasn't that good. So the critics too also have to appeal to YouTube. Like a lot of the critics now are either YouTube people. They're not getting paid to be critics. They're getting paid on what they say. So if they see a trend, right, they're like, Daredevil's going up. Okay, well, yeah, Daredevil's fantastic. It's great. It's like, is it really? Do you care about Daredevil? Like, did you read Frank Miller's run or anything? And they need to have that audience. That's why you start falling into the categories of the we hate anything, and then there's the we love everything.
Yeah, right.
Right, because so I can't trust anybody. I can barely trust Sean. I trust Sean. I trust Steve. But like,
well, look how the critics love the new Fantastic Four movie.
Right, it was boring,
and it's like, oh my God, did they get that so wrong? What happened here? And I was really wanting it to be good.
Me too.
Yeah, I think all four of them were in the same boat.
And then the same about the Superman movie. It's like, oh, this is rebooting the character in a more positive way for the kind of hero we really want, and blah blah blah. So, but then it was still a terrible story.
It's terrible. There is no story.
I got my wife and my daughter to go to it too, and boy did I catch it.
Bruce, here's the thing. J-Man is like the ultimate Superman fan. Like I think
Kurt Swan Superman, that's like the real Superman, and then there's like a bunch of fake Supermans after that. But like, I hate, except for Christopher Reeve, I don't like anything. I don't know why. And I love Superman 3 and 4. I always show this, my patented Superman 3 poster. Christopher Reeve is the real Superman. He walks around, he's Superman. I don't like Superman Returns. I don't like Man of Steel. I don't like this new one. The show is, I don't know. George Reeves is okay because that's classic, and the serials are pretty fun. Yeah, he's good. Christopher Reeve just brought it to life, and he walked around as you're like, oh, that's the real Superman. And then these other guys are like, yeah, an actor pretending to be Superman, but this is the real Superman.
Well, yeah, George Reeves as well. I mean, there was a generation that understood what the character was, and then after that, got cynical.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, I don't, between George Reeves and Christopher Reeves, I don't think very few actors conveyed such total goodness.
Yes.
Their soul just reeked of goodness. And I feel like all the other actors don't have that soul that is emitting a quality that you can just believe in. And Lord knows those old Supermans were done on a shoestring budget with almost nothing going on, but you just couldn't take your eyes off George Reeves, whether he was Clark Kent or Superman. He just killed it. And I love that period of Kurt Swan when there was a real Superman mythology going on.
Yes.
There was Kandor in the Bottled City and the Fortress of Solitude. And there was Crypto, and there were all these super animals, and
Comet, Squeaky,
Goofy, in so many ways, and the Bizarro character. But there was a real rich mythology that the stories took place in that was so fun and good. So it's very corny.
You know what? That's an interesting word you just used, Bruce, where, and maybe we can blame the late 80s on it, but when, like, a lot of these characters are supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of what we're getting is not fun. And it doesn't mean that you can't have a dip where, someone's going through like an absolute hell of a time, but they're going to come out of it. Mm-hmm. It seems like everything we're getting now, even when they tried with that Superman movie, it wasn't fun, if you understand what I mean, and fun where it makes sense.
Right.
Like, you don't play the character for laughs. Crypto peeing on Superman the newspaper, like, if you're a Superman fan, that's like
Yeah,
get your humor another way.
it's going for the lowest level of
Yeah,
humor.
it's like Three
Yeah.
Stooges enters into the DC
Yeah.
universe.
Right. Except Three Stooges is creatively
Three Stooges now, come on.
no. But the Three Stooges is creatively silly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Things around them, they use the environments and the way that the motions are done. This is just obvious, silly, dumb humor, and they don't respect Superman.
Yeah.
When Mr. Terrific shows up and scoffs at Superman, looks at him like, gives him actually like what are you silly? And I'm thinking, first 15 minutes, I was like, well,
Just think
he's
about the
mocking
first
him.
Christopher Reeves movie. He was the only super character.
Yeah.
Right.
Whole movie, and he held center stage all throughout it. Versus the new one, it's like, do we need that new Justice League, and do we need a Supergirl, and do we need all these monsters and things? It was just, and that other dimension where all
Pocket
the
universe or whatever.
Yeah.
and someday I want a Lex Luthor that's an older guy in a big suit, and he's a mature, normal villain who just wants power. And he doesn't have to be psycho crazy or have cognitive issues or anything. He's just a great master criminal.
Yeah.
And as an adult, can't we
Yeah.
like,
Why is he a lunatic? Why is the guy a lunatic and blowing his top? I'm like, what is happening right now? Lex Luthor's supposed to be smart, right? Like, he's in jail in those Kurt Swans. He's in jail. He gets out in 5 seconds when he needs to. He's like, I'm not going to be out of here, because he figures out some ingenious way. It might be corny, as you said, but at least it's creative, and you didn't know what you were going to get. Every time you picked up a Superman, you're like, what is going to happen in this one? I really don't know. There's one with like a crystal, a brain people in a brain in a crystal. You're like, whoa, this is cool. Like, what happened to that?
Well, I think it goes back to the early Marvel too. I mean, these were stories created by mostly men who went through the Great Depression. They went through World War II.
Mm-hmm.
They saw their buddies die. They grew up in rough upbringings. They had families and were worried about their children and paying their mortgage. And these kind of people were in charge of the comic industry. And they had strong values, and they had a sense of having survived the worst of times, which they did. And now they wanted to provide good entertainment for children. That was, and they wanted to make a living, and they didn't want it to be too precious or anything. They just wanted to give kids good, kind of like the Captain Kangaroo syndrome or something. They just loved people, they loved children, and they wanted to give them something to grow up on. And then I think once the 90s started rolling around, then it was sort of like the kids became in charge of the industry.
Yeah.
And it became geared towards juvenile points of view of the world versus an adult point of view of the world. And then lastly, The Dark Knight just destroyed everything. And then it was like, we're still in the era of The Dark Knight.
Yes, and I am wearing the shirt of it, and I do love Dark Knight, but I
love Dark Knight, but it didn't need to transform.
I agree.
Dark Knight Returns, yeah.
I super agree. It's not the only Batman story there ever was. It's one of many great Batman stories. We love the 66 Batman. We love the serials. Like, I mean, that I've had people say, oh, that Batman wasn't the comics. And we literally on our stream were like, this comic is based on this Penguin story with Penguin in it. And we're like showing the comic, like, look, this is the Batman 66 adaptation of this story. Like literally that. And it's like, there needs to be some fun. There needs to be some goofiness to it. And you can't be ashamed to like it. I think what's happened is that people, what you're saying, when the kids took over, they were almost like somewhat ashamed that they were grown up and still like this stuff. So they tried to make it a little bit more adult or grow it up and edgier. And then that somehow justified their love of it. And I think that
kind of validating their own existence in it by making books, quote, mature.
But that's been the approach to Superman since Superman Returns. Just spinning a hot take on Superman. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah. What if he can't answer Lois's questions like an adult, or like it's like he loses his mind in that scene? You're like, it's like a politician, the worst low-level politician couldn't answer her question. Well, Miss Lane, there was a problem, and I saw there was no time to react, but I will in the future consult the president before I engage in any other out of America activities.
You know,
I just make up something. I just made it up now.
But here's the crazy thing, J-Man. Chris Reeve is the only Superman that you could actually envision leading the Justice League in live action.
Right. Yeah, he takes charge.
There's no way that Corn Sweat's Superman has the gravitas.
Is it Corn Sweat?
Is this his name?
Corn Sweat.
His name is Corn
I
Sweat.
thought you abbreviated it to Corn Sweat.
No, it's not his name.
Corn Sweat's his name, I think, right?
Corn
Sweat.
It's Corn Sweat. Yeah, it is Corn Sweat.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Corn Sweat.
And I don't want to combine Supergirl's last name with his last name.
No.
Because that would be very funny, but I'm not going to say it. So you guys can work it out in your head.
So the last Superman, and I like the actor, but it's like how he's written and presented. It's like how is he so unhinged?
Yeah.
But did you see that behind the scenes thing where he argues with James Gunn that the character would never do this? And it's like, oh my God, you showed this to everyone?
Okay, Sean, let's go down the list. Cavill in The Witcher.
Yeah. Yes.
Corn Sweat, Superman.
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill with Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Those are actors who have been telling the writers or the directors, there's no way my character's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done it anyway to the detriment of the characters.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like, go ahead.
I never want to see another James Gunn produced show.
Yeah, me too.
He barely got out of Marvel without him totally embarrassing himself. And then, but then they thought he was a god and gave him control of DC. It's really, really a shame.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned with Fantastic Four, and there's a lot of Kirby sort of, things in it where they kind of gave him the birthday as the universe. They gave him all this stuff. It's like, what would have been a better way to honor him is do the characters. Like instead of writing, oh, look, it's his birthday. Oh, look, there's a cartoon out there. I don't care. It's like the thing has to be one of the most fun, creative, unique characters in the way that he's portrayed. We've been reading now 207 issues or whatever it was I just said. And he is fun, vibrant. He gets angry. He's hot-headed, but he's also nice too. Like he's a complex
how do
character.
you make the Thing boring?
The Thing is so boring. He's walking around.
How is that
The Thing is supposed
possible?
to have a tragic underpinning to his character. And that character had no sense of pathos.
No.
Whatsoever.
No.
And I tell you, I would much rather watch the two Fantastic Four movies.
Me too.
With the Silver Surfer one. And
Two story ones.
I thought those more captured the Fantastic Four than this new movie. And I hated the idea that there was no Reed Richards laboratory. He didn't seem like a scientist. He had a kind of an office space in the living room of the central headquarters, which was the 60s kind of furniture and all that. But where did he tinker? Where did he build incredible machines? Where did he invent things? Where, like the other movies, they got the essence of that. And the Thing had a tragic underpinning to them. So anyway, we could go on and on. I should probably get out of here, and you guys probably want to get out of here too.
Yeah, before you go, though, Bruce, and I want to once again thank you for joining us. With Captain Henry and the Graveyard of Time, we had Angry Gamer asking. He said they bought issue number 1, but couldn't find number 2 anywhere. Do you want to just say what's coming up in terms of the graphic novel and the release around it again for anyone who's maybe coming a little bit late?
Yeah. Unfortunately, they did not print a large number for each book. They were very timid in their sales projections, so those books all basically sold out. I think you can get them on eBay, or maybe somewhere else, but I know eBay has all the copies. But then you pay double because you pay for shipping. But right now until April 20th, you can order the hardcover collected version of Captain Henry. It's going to be a little bit larger size, and there's going to be 20 more plus pages of the concept work that I did sketch-wise leading up to the first book. And so April 20th is the cutoff to get your bookstore to order it or put in your own order. And then the book will come out in mid-July, and then you can catch up on it, all 4 books that way.
Right. So everyone out there, make sure that you pick up a copy. It's a great series, and we want to see more adventures from Captain Henry. So the more that happens, the better off it is.
Yeah.
I just posted, so I pre-ordered it on. I already pre-ordered when we started the stream, but I just put I'm in Canada. We're in I don't know, Bruce, if you're where you are.
He's in Pacific.
I'm in Oregon.
Okay.
Washington State. You're Washington State, right?
Portland,
Oregon.
Okay,
so he's in Oregon.
So here in Canada, it says July 21st. So I tried posting the link to the Amazon.com, so I was able to get it, the hardcover version in Canada. So for Canada, it says July 21st is the release date.
That sounds about right.
So yeah, I don't know what it is for over there, but yeah. So
I think it's similar. I think so.
It should be.
Yeah. So I'll put links up when we next do our thing, because it's not. The link is I can't do it.
It's your. We'll get the shorter link.
Yeah, Steve, if you can do that. But I put, I'll put it up when we tomorrow. So.
Well, I appreciate it, because I do want to do another series, but I think Dark Horse is very timid about greenlighting stuff these days. So I don't know if it'll return or not.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's put our thoughts together and make it happen.
I appreciate it, guys.
Well, Bruce, I want to thank you for spending some time with us. It was a pleasure, as always, to hang out and chop it up with you. All the best. Wishing you all the best. And anything that you want to say as a last little tidbit to the fans out there, the floor is yours.
Well, just thank you for doing the show. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. So it's always a little sad. I do a podcast where I get to meet some really great guys and have the most fun conversation, and then it's over, and then it's sort of like back to the real world again. Right. Nobody I know knows anything about what we talk about. My family doesn't really understand what I do, and my friends are totally in other worlds, and so this is a place where we can sort of flourish for a while and do what we do. So thanks for the opportunity.
It was a pleasure. So Sean, J-Man, we're going to see each other, I guess, tomorrow for Fantastic Fridays. And, so I'll be seeing you guys in less than 24. So Bruce, once again, thank you for everything. Everyone out there in the audience, thanks for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.